Maybe? Oh, here we go. Can everybody hear me out there? Yes, wonderful. My name is Leslie, and I'm a project coordinator here at City of Asylum. And I'm really glad that all of you could come out today and hear our lovely storyteller that we have. So City of Asylum, I want to tell you a little bit about us and our organization. We provide a home to writers of books and poetry. These writers have come from all over the world, from countries in Asia and South America, for example, to find safety here in Pittsburgh. These writers are in exile because their lives are in danger. Does anybody know out in the audience what exile means? Yes, I'm coming to you.
Exile is when someone is forced out of a country to never return.
Yeah, sometimes they're not able to return to their country and to their friends and family. Thank you so much. Can we give you a round of applause, please? Thank you. So City of Asylum and the people of Pittsburgh help these writers feel at home, even though their home might be far away. And we also have friends in the neighborhood, like you lovely people, who come and join us, but other organizations, like the Children's Museum, to help us, and they support us. They even painted us this lovely mural back here, and feel free to take a look after the event is done. It's a nice mural of Pittsburgh. Yeah. And so when we have these writers here, they feel very welcome and free to write their stories, these stories that connect all of us together. But today we actually have a storyteller with us, and we have our master storyteller, Eshu Bumpus. Yay! Eshu will be sharing tales that come from countries in Africa. Can we please give him a very big welcome? And we're very excited to hear your stories. Thank you.
Thank you. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome in this place. Now you're going to remember your part, right? Sing it with me. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcomed in this place. If you can sing your song, if you can take a chance, if you just came to listen and sit back and watch the dance, let me tell you that's all right. Let me tell you in advance, you are welcome in this place. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcome. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. If a story is enough to put a smile upon your face, or if this is just a moment when you need a warm embrace, sit down and be with family. Life's a journey, not a race. You are welcome in this place. You are welcome. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcomed in this place. We came from different lands with a past that darkness claimed. Our stories full of triumphs over miseries unnamed. But now we put our hands together with a joy that won't be shamed. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcome. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcomed. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcomed in this place. Welcome. So I'm going to tell some stories. I'm going to tell a mixture of African and African American and maybe African Caribbean stories. And I want to start with actually what started out as a German story, my own version of Three Little Pigs. And you all know that story, right? So if I say little pigs, you better let us in, you'll say, not. There we go. Okay. Say it nice and loud when the time comes. Now, another part for you in this, we're going to scat. Who likes to scat? Okay. I'll scat a line, and then you give it back to me, okay? Ba-beep-ba-doo-da-dwee-da. Where did that come from? There's a story that attributes it to Satchmo. You guys know who Satchmo Louis Armstrong is, right? Well, they say that one day Satchmo was doing a big outdoor concert, and he was doing a song that was new to him. So he had the words on a music stand in front of him, and he's singing away until the wind came up and blew his words away. He didn't want to stop singing, so he said, shabba-doo-bop-jabba. He just kept singing anyway, you know? So that's where they say scatting came from. I don't know how true that is, but it's a good enough story. So we'll scat a little bit. Dwee da ba doo ba dwee doo dwee. Beep ba doo ba dwee da dwee da. Nice. This is the story of the three little pigs. They lived within a house made of twigs. Next door there lived a nice wolf family, but their house was made of bricks, you see. One day the lazy pigs thought of a trick. They wanted to live in a house made of brick. They sneaked into the big house next door, waited till everyone was out at the store. Sha-doo-ba-dee-ba-doo-you-dwee-doo-dwee. All right. When the wolves came home that day, you know they didn't know what to say. The house was locked with the pigs inside. Mr. Wolf said, I'm gonna fix their hide. You little pigs better let us in. Mr. Wolf began to huff and puff. You know he just about had enough. Sweet be-ba-doo-ba-doo-dwee. Mrs. Wolf said, this has got to stop. Found a telephone and called a cop. The cop who came was named Chester Fox, the same one that blew the case of Goldilocks. The fox went into the house for a while, came out wearing a foxy smile. He never listened to the wolf's side at all, told them they would have to wait for his call. Sha-doo-ba-dwee-ba-doo-dwee-da-doo-dwee. News reporters came that day. Here's what the little pigs had to say. The big bad wolf tried to get in our house. We're just as innocent as a mouse. And they've got a reputation. You hear it all across the nation. Mr. Wolf said there's no justice here. We have to leave the home we love so dear. Now the wolves were left without a home. In the forests and the hills they roam. The pigs would never admit that they lied, but nobody ever heard the wolf family sigh. If there's a lesson in the story today, it's always tell a story your own way. Never just assume that one side is true, 'cause there's always another point of view. Three little pigs. So I'm going to tell you a few different kinds of stories. I want to tell you this I want to tell you this traditional African folktale, but it doesn't have a song in it. Is that okay? So, usually I have songs in my stories. But this one, I just have kids' names. This is a story that's told all around Africa. There's all different versions of this story. It's called The Name of the Tree. You see, a long time ago, in the land of all the animals, there was a terrible, terrible drought. Say that word, please. A drought is when there's no what? No water, no rain for a long time. The land was dry, the food would not grow, and the animals were hungry. They had to do something. They decided to call a meeting of all the animals to discuss what to do. Now, at that meeting, there was a certain giraffe. His name was Grant. And Grant the giraffe was very, very smart. And he'd been thinking about this problem for a long time. So when they called this meeting, Grant said, "Everyone, I have an idea." And everybody stopped to listen to Grant. He said, "You know, there's got to be food growing somewhere. What we should do is all travel together till we find some food, and then we can all share." They said, "Oh, Grant, that's a wonderful idea. Thank you." And they followed Grant's wise advice. They traveled together. They traveled for many, many miles. They traveled all the way to the great mountain. Now, the great mountain was so high, there was always snow at the top. And that snow would melt and make a little trickle of water. So right beside the mountain, there was a little stream of cool water. The animals could stop and get a sip, but they were still very hungry. They had to keep traveling across those great, dry, grassy plains that we call the African savanna. Across those dry, grassy plains, finally they came to this one magnificent tree. It was the tallest tree they'd ever seen. The trunk of the tree was long and smooth, but at the top, they could see the branches were hanging heavy with some kind of fruit. They really wanted some of that fruit. They didn't even know if that fruit was good to eat, but they had to try. They had to ask their best climber. They asked King the monkey. They said, "King, try and get some of that food." The king said, "I'll try." And he climbed up and up and up. But that tree was so smooth, by the time he got to the middle, he just slid right back down. He said, "I'll try again." He climbed up and up, but he slid right back down. They said, "Oh, King, we know you tried your best, but we have to find out about that tree. We have to find out if that fruit is good to eat." They had to go to, what's your name? They're going to go to Havana later. They had to go to Miralai, the wise woman. They said, "Miralai, we found this wonderful tree, but we don't know how to get the fruit down from the tree, and we don't even know if that fruit is good to eat." Miralai said, "Oh, I know that tree. That's a wonderful tree. And yes, that fruit is very good to eat. But there's only one way to get the fruit down from the tree. You must say the name of the tree. As soon as you say the name of the tree, the fruit will just come falling down to this. They said, oh, thank you, Mirabai. Tell us the name of the tree. She said, I don't know the name of the tree. Only one certain somebody knows the name of that tree. You're going to have to go all the way to the other side of the mountain and find King Noah. King Noah is the only one that knows the name of that tree. They said, good, we better send somebody really strong and fast. We're going to send Havana the lion. Oh, Havana the lion was strong, she was powerful, and she was fast. She said, I will find out the name of that tree. And she took off across the plains. She reminded everybody to turn off their cell phones. And she went zooming up one side of the mountain and down the other side. And she ran all the way to King Noah. She said, King Noah, the animals are hungry. We need to know the name of that special tree. King Noah said, I know that tree. That's a wonderful tree. The name of that tree is Uwangalema. Say that. Uwangalema. And don't forget it, Uwangalema. Havana said, thank you, King Noah. And she took off up the side of the mountain. Oh, but it was hot and it was dry. And Havana had been running for a long time, so she knew when she came down that mountain, she was going to have to stop and get a sip of cool water before she could go on. Havana came zooming down the mountain. She stopped. She leaned over the stream to take a sip of water. But what do you see when you look down into the stream? You see your reflection. She looked down and said, oh, I'm gorgeous. I didn't know that. She took a sip of water. She took another look and said, I'm really gorgeous. Then she remembered all the animals were waiting, said, I better hurry. And she took off across the plains. All the animals were gathered around the tree. She said, Havana, quick, say the name of the tree. She went to the tree and said, I am gorgeous. They said, oh, you look nice. I said, but I look so nice. Say the name of the tree. She said, okay, it was ooh, papa doo pop. She forgot the name of the tree. They said, Havana, we were counting on you. We got to send somebody else. We're going to send somebody really, really fast. We're going to send Milo, the cheetah. Nobody's faster than Milo, the cheetah. Milo took off across the plains, glided over that stream, up one side of the mountain and down the other side. Milo ran all the way to King Noah. He said, King Noah, the animals are hungry. We need to know the same name of that special tree. He said, oh, but I just told Havana the lion, but I'll tell you too. The name of that tree is Uwangalema. Say that. Uwangalema. And don't forget it, Uwangalema. Milo said, thank you, King Noah. And he took off up the side of the mountain. He was running so fast, all you could see was just a streak, zooming up one side and down the other side of that mountain. But what happens sometimes when you're running down a hill too fast? You trip. He tripped and bumped his nose on a rock. He said, ow, my nose! Oh, poor Milo, his nose hurt so bad. He had to go put his nose in the cool water of the stream. He said, ow, my nose! Oh, but he remembered all the animals were waiting. He said, I better hurry. And he took off across the plains. All the animals were gathered around the tree and said, Milo, quick, say the name of the tree. He ran up to the tree and said, ow, my nose! They said, oh, we're sorry you hurt your nose, but say the name of the tree. He said, okay. Ow, my nose! Say the name of the tree. He said, okay, it was oopsie daisy. He forgot the name of the tree. They said, you know, we have to send somebody that just won't forget. Now, who never forgets? Zevon the elephant. Zevon the elephant, we'll find out. Zevon took off across the plains. He stepped over that tree, up one side of the mountain, and down the other side. He went all the way to King Noah. He said, King Noah, the animals are hungry. We need to know the name of that special tree. He said, well, I just told Milo the cheetah, but I'll tell you too. The name of that tree is Uwangalema. Say that. Uwangalema. And don't forget it, Uwangalema. Zevon said, thank you, King Noah. And he took off up the side of the mountain. But oh, it was hot, and it was dry, and elephants need a lot of water. So he knew he was going to have to stop at that stream. Not beer, just water, not beer. No beer for elephants. But he came down the mountain, he stopped, and he leaned over the stream to take a sip of water, and all of a sudden he heard, hey, Zevon, where you going? What you doing? What's going on? He looked up at the tree, and there was Davy the bird. David said, what's going on? Take me with you. Leave me alone, bird. He said, well, what's going on? Leave me alone, bird. That bird was getting on his nerves. He said, forget about the water, and he took off across the plains. All the animals were gathered around the tree. They said, please, Zevin, say the name of the tree. He went right to the tree and said, you know, it's this bird back there that really bothers you. We're sorry he bothered you, but say the name of the tree. But that little Davy really gets on your nerves. Say the name of the tree. He said, okay, it was, ooh, baby, baby. Forgot the name of the tree. One after another they kept trying, but one after another they kept forgetting. Until this little voice said, let me try. And they looked down, and there was Abram the turtle. Abram the turtle said, let me try. They said, Abram, by the time you get back, we'll all have beards down to here. Some of us already do. But Zebin the elephant said, let him try. So they said, fine. Now, Abram was very smart. He knew he had an important job to do, so he didn't just go rushing off. He went to get some advice first. He went to his dad. He said, Dad, the other animals, they find out the name of the tree, but by the time they come out, they forget. I want to make sure I don't forget. What do you think I should do? And here's what Abram's dad said. He said, Abram, when you find out the name of that tree, you're going to have a long journey back. And lots of things might happen to you on the way. But no matter what happens to you, just only say the name of that tree. Just say the name of that tree, and that way you won't forget. Zebin said, thanks, that's a great idea. And he took off across the plains. He swam across that little stream. He climbed up one side of the mountain, and down the other side he went all the way to King Noah. He said, King Noah, we need to know the name of that special tree. King Noah said, but I've told all the other animals, but I'll tell you too. The name of that tree is Uwangalema. Say that. Uwangalema. And don't forget it, Uwangalema. Abram said, thank you, King Noah. And he took off up the side of the mountain. But you know, Abram was a turtle. He knew it was taking him a long time. And he really wanted to do his best. So he thought about it and he got this idea. He said, here's what I should do. When I get to the top of the mountain, I'll pull my arms and my legs and my head and my tail all into my shell, and I'll tip myself on the edge so I can roll down the mountain really fast. It was a great idea, and that's what he did. When he got to the top of the mountain, he pulled himself into his shell, he tipped himself on one edge and went rolling faster and faster and faster and faster. But when he got down near the bottom of the mountain, he hit a little twig. It made him go pop up into the air, spinning around, and when he stuck his head out to see what was going on, he bumped his nose right on a rock. He said, Uwangalema. That really hurt. He had to go put his nose in the cool water of the stream. Went over to the stream. He saw his reflection. He said, Uwangalema. Then all of a sudden he heard, hey, Abram, where you going? What you doing? What's going on? He said, Uwangalema. He swam across the stream. He ran across the plains. All the animals were gathered around the tree. They said, Abram, please say the name of the tree. He went right up to the tree and said, Uwangalema, and all that delicious food came falling down. The animals were so hungry they all went charging for it at once. But Zebin the elephant stopped him. He said, wait a minute. Who should get the first piece of fruit? Well, who should get the first piece of fruit? Abram the turtle. They gave Abram the turtle the first nice big ripe piece of fruit. And when he took one delicious bite, he said, Uwangalema, because that's the name of the tree. And that's the end of the story. Thank you all for being good sports and letting me use your name. Cheche Kole. Cheche Kofisa. Now, would it be okay if anybody says no, I'll change my story, but would it be okay if I told a story that had kind of a scary wolf in it? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. This is an African-American story. It's called Little Daughter and the Wolf. funny thing about this story is, depending on who you ask, some people say it's a German story. Some people say it's a Native American story. Some people say it's an African American story. But this is my version of the story anyway. This little girl lived in a little cabin right near the edge of the forest. It was just her and her father and her old grandmother. They used to call her Old Granny. Now, Old Granny had a problem. She could never get to sleep. She would sit up all night in her rocking chair, rocking back and forth, singing her old gospel songs, but she could never get to sleep. Every night after dinner, Old Granny would go sit in her rocking chair, little daughter would come sit on her lap, and Old Granny would sing her favorite old gospel song. She'd sing like this. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the dark, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on. By the time Old Granny was through with her song, little daughter would always be fast asleep. So her father would pick her up and tuck her into bed. But Old Granny could never get to sleep. She'd sit up all night in that rocking chair, just rocking back and forth and singing her old gospel songs. But one day, little daughter was out in the front yard picking flowers because that was her favorite thing in the world to do. Her father came to her and said, "Little daughter, I want you to promise me today that you won't go outside the gate." He said, "You see, I have to go on a long trip and I'm going to be gone all day long. I'm afraid if you go outside the gate, you'll be too close to the edge of the forest. And in the forest lives a wolf." Bless you.
Wolf in the blood.
Yes. So she promised she wouldn't go outside the gate. And he went on his trip and she went on picking flowers because that was her favorite thing to do. And while she was picking the flowers, she made up a little song that went like this. Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. Can you sing that with me? Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. Trebla, trebla, kumqua kimo. She was singing her song, picking flowers, and just having a wonderful time, when she noticed just only one step outside the gate was the prettiest little blue flower you ever saw. There was only one step outside the gate. So she opened up the gate and she took that one step and she picked that flower. Do you think she should have done that? 2 more steps outside the gate, she saw another little blue flower. She took 2 more steps. You can take those steps with me like this. And she picked that flower. But then 3 more steps away, she saw another little blue flower. She took 3 steps. and she picked that flower. And then she looked around and she saw so many little blue flowers, she forgot to even count her steps. She just started picking as many as she could and singing her song. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Well, she had a handful of little blue flowers. She had the sweetest song to sing. She was having a wonderful time. And of course, she was ready to go right back in because she really wasn't supposed to be outside of her gate that day. But just then she noticed, just only one step into the forest. It's the prettiest little yellow flower you ever saw. It was only one step into the forest. She took that one step and she picked that flower. Do you think she should have done that? Two more steps into the forest, she saw another little yellow flower. She took two more steps. Take those steps with me. And she picked that flower. But then three more steps into the forest, she saw another little yellow flower. She took three steps. And she picked that flower. And then she looked around and she saw so many little yellow flowers, she forgot to even count her steps. She just started picking as many as she could and singing her song. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Well, she had a handful of little yellow flowers, a handful of little blue flowers, the sweetest song to sing. She was having a wonderful time. And of course, she was ready to go right back in because she really wasn't supposed to be in the forest alone. And that day, she wasn't even supposed to be outside of her gate. But just then, she heard from right behind her, "Little girl!" She looked around. Only one step away was the wolf. "Little girl, I like that song. Sing me that prettiest, sweetest song again." And she said, "Okay." Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. And the wolf said, he was fast asleep. So she started to sneak away very quietly, very quickly. She got all the way to the edge of the forest. "Little girl! Little girl, did you move?" "No, why would I move?" "Then sing me that prettiest, sweetest song again." Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. Trebla, trebla, kunquakimo. She started sneaking away very quietly, very quickly, until finally she was only one step from her gate. So here's what she did. She took all those flowers and put them in one hand, She would take her other hand and reach up and just very quietly begin to open that gate. Little girl! Little girl, I think you moved. No, why would I move? Then sing me that prettiest, sweetest song again. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. She sneaked into her gate, she quietly closed the gate shut, and she tiptoed back into the house. And she found a nice big bowl, and she put all those flowers in the bowl right in the middle of the table. And when her father came home that evening, she told him the whole story about the flowers and the wolf and the song. And together, they sang the song. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. Trebla, trebla, cum quaquimo. And all of a sudden they heard, shh. And they looked over, and old Granny was fast asleep. That's the end of the story. How are we doing for time? We good? Because it would be good to teach you a little story game in the midst of things too. Is everybody doing okay? Yeah. Please repeat after me. As I sat under the apple tree, all the apples fell on me.
All the apples fell on me.
Apple pudding, apple pie.
Apple pudding, apple pie.
Did you ever tell a lie?
Did you ever tell a lie?
Now that's a counting rhyme, so use that rhyme to count around the room. As I sat under the apple tree, all the apples fell on me, just going until it stops. Whoever it lands on has to tell a little story about themselves. But the thing is, it should either be a story that's true, but sounds kind of hard to believe, or a story that's not really true, but sounds kind of believable. And the object of it is to fool as many people as you can. So after you tell your story, then you say, how many people believe that story? And they raise their hand. Then you say, how many people don't believe that story? And they raise their hand. And you see how many people you can fool. So just to give you an idea how it goes, I'm going to tell you a little story about myself, and you decide if you believe it or not, okay? But, and if there's time, maybe we'll go around a couple of times. Two things you have to remember about this game. First of all, it has to be a story about you yourself, not just somebody at your house that you want to embarrass, okay? It has to be a story about you. And the second thing is, this is not a discussion game, it's a listening game. It's a game where you practice listening. So you don't say anything when you listen to the story. You don't even say anything afterwards to try to give it away. You just listen to the story, and without saying anything at all, you either raise your hand if you believe it, or raise your hand if you don't believe it, okay? So you decide if you believe this story. When I was about 9 years old, my favorite thing to do was play hide and seek with my older brothers. We used to play all the time. But the only thing is, my brothers were all older than me. They knew all the best places to hide, so they could always find me. So the one thing I always wanted to do when I was a little boy was to find the best hiding place around. And one day, it was early on a Saturday morning, we were playing hide and seek, and I was just determined to find the best hiding place when I got this idea. Right near our house was a great big old chestnut tree. I climbed up so high in that tree that when I looked down, all I could see was leaves. So I knew anybody looking up would only see leaves. They wouldn't be able to see me. It was the perfect hiding place way at the top of that tree. I sat there and I waited. My brothers came out searching. They searched all around, but they couldn't find me. They even came underneath the tree so I could hear their voices, but I knew they couldn't see me. And finally I heard them say, he must be in the house, let's go back in. So they went back into the house. That's when I thought I would climb down and go and brag how they couldn't find me. That's when I found out I had climbed too high up in the tree. Because I was so high up in the tree that when I looked down, all I could see was leaves. I couldn't see the next branch to put my foot on. I was stuck up in that tree. I started calling for help. They were already in the house, they couldn't hear me. I started to cry. I got so scared, I'll never forget this as long as I live. I sat in that tree for 5.5 hours till I finally figured out what to do. I ran home and got a rope and used the rope to climb down from the tree. How many people believe that story? How many people don't believe that story? Okay, well, see how many people you can fool with your story. You want to try it a couple of times? You want to try it? Oh yeah, we'll count. Count with me. As I sat under the apple tree, all the apples fell on me. Apple pudding, apple pie. Did you ever tell a lie? You might have to do one for him. Yeah. No? Next person?
One day, I wanted to go exploring. Exploring with my grandson, and we climbed the highest mountain ever. And we had such a good time. We had a picnic. And that's the experience. We had a good time.
Nice. Give him a hand, please. Now, how many people believe that story? How many people don't believe that story? Was it true? Yeah, it was a good story, though. Let's do one more, and I'll tell you one more folk tale. Ready? As I sat under the apple tree, all the apples fell on me. Apple pudding, apple pie. Did you ever tell a lie? With the purple. Oh, good. Thank you.
I'll tell one because Heather.
Okay.
Well, this must be the day for telling mountain stories. Because I used to live in Montana.
Oh.
And I went climbing up a mountain one time when I was younger and climbing was a little easier than it is now. And I was coming up underneath kind of an outcropping of rocks, and a mountain goat came flying over my head, and his hoof hit me in the head.
Ouch.
Ouch! And I actually kind of passed out and laid down under that rock, and when I woke up, there was a bear licking my face.
Wow. How many people, oh, give her a hand first. How many people believe that story? Yeah. How many people don't believe that story? Was it true?
Part.
It was part true. Very nice, very nice. You don't believe it? Yeah. Part of it was true, but part wasn't. Well, let's do one more folk tale. Now, so far you've had easy songs. This one's not so easy. This one's called Zange Iwa Chakatanga Pano. And that's the part you have to sing. I'm going to sing like this. Cho, 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 choriato. Chakatanga Pano, choriato. Cho, 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 choriato. Chakatanga Pano, choriato. And while I'm singing like that, you'll be singing Zanga Iwa Chakatanga Pano. Zanga Iwa Chakatanga Pano. Zanga Iwa Chakatanga Pano. Zanga Iwa Chakatanga Pano. So we got to practice first, right? So the words are Zanga, Iwa, Chaka, Tanga, Pano. Zanga Iwa, Chaka Tanga, Pano. Zanga iwa. Chakatanga pano. Zanga iwa. Chakatanga pano. Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. Good. Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. And you sing it like this. Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. Everybody. Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. Keep it going. Cho 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 chorieto. Chakatanga pano chorieto. Cho 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 chorieto. Chakatanga pano chorieto. Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. Zanga iwa chakatanga. Good. Now you got the words. Now we'll put some life into it. Now try it like this. Ready? Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. Zanga iwa cho 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 chorieto. Chakatanga pano chorieto. Cho 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 chorieto. Chakatanga pano chorieto. Zanga iwa chakatanga pano. Zanga iwa chakatanga. Oh, we got it, we got it, we got it. Long time ago in Zimbabwe, let me hear you say Zimbabwe. There was a terrible, terrible drought. We've talked about a drought. You know what a drought is. What happened to people's gardens? They dried up and wouldn't grow any food at all. It got so bad, the only thing they could do was each person would take a basket and it would spend all day searching around the forest for any kinds of roots and herbs and things people could eat. And in the evenings, they would come together and share what they had found. It got so bad that even very young children had to each take a little basket and spend all day searching around the forest for any kinds of things people could eat. And in the evenings, they would share. Now, there was this one little girl who was very brave and determined. She decided she was going to go out and she wasn't coming back till she had a basket full of good things to share. She set out alone on the path through the forest. And even after about 2 or 3 hours, she only had a few little roots and herbs in her basket. She had to keep searching. After a while, she came to this clearing. Only one tree way out in the center of it. And she went up to that tree. It had all different kinds of food on it. It must have been some kind of magic tree. She filled up her basket right away. And she got back to the path when she heard a snake slithered right up to it. Where'd you get that food from? I found it on that tree back there. I only took a little bit. Well, you're in trouble now. And he slithered off into the bushes. She was scared. That's right, terrified. She was very scared. But she was still determined to get home with that basket of food. She continued down the path, walking as fast as she could, carrying that heavy basket, when suddenly, a lion jumped out in front of her. Where do you think you're going with that food? I only took a little bit. I just want to go share it with my family. Well, that tree belongs to the animals of the forest. And we are not going to let you take our food. Now the lion let out his biggest roar. How did he sound? His biggest roar. Just like that. And all the animals from the forest came around and they surrounded that little girl. And the lion said, "This little girl has stolen food from our magic tree. So we are going to have a court case." Each animal had to give his opinion on what to do about the little girl, and then they would all vote, you see. No wolves in Africa. Well, half of the animals, like the leopard and the jackal and the hyena, they like to eat meat. So they said the best thing to do, eat her up. Eat her up, then there's no more problem. But the other half of the animals, like the elephant and the giraffe and the antelope, they don't eat meat. They don't care about eating meat. They just said, she's just a little girl. She didn't take very much. Just let her go. Let her go, and then you have no problem. So they argued back and forth for a long time. Till the hyena said, you know, if we let her go, she's going to tell all the other humans about our magic tree and they will come and take all of our food. So that's when they made a decision. Lion turned to her and said, I'm sorry, little girl, we're gonna have to eat you up. What do you think she said? She said, oh, that's okay, I understand. That's what she said. I said, but before you eat me up, let me just sing one last song. I'll teach it to you, we can sing together. So they said, oh, we'll sing a song, then eat her up. It'd be like a picnic. So this is the song she taught him. She said, I'll sing like this. Cha, 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 churieto, chakatanga pano, churieto. And you sing like this. Zangaiwa chakatanga pano, Zangaiwa chakatanga pano. Zangaiwa cho 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 churieto, chakatanga pano churieto, cho 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 churieto, chakatanga pano churieto, Zangaiwa chakatanga pano, Zangaiwa chakatanga pano. They were jumping around and shaking the trees. They were having the greatest time when the hyena said, wait a minute. Where is that little girl? That little girl was long gone, running down the road, you see. They said, oh, she tricked us. So they started chasing after her. Now remember, she was a very little girl. She was carrying a heavy basket. It didn't take long before those big animals caught up to her. And they surrounded her again. And they said, you tricked us, but you won't trick us anymore. But you see, now the animals had a problem. See, because half of those animals like to eat meat. So they were chasing that little girl so they could eat her up. But the other half were chasing her because they wanted to sing the song again. So they said, let us sing the song one more time. We'll just watch real close. So they started singing. Zangaiwa chakatanga pano, Zangaiwa cho 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 churieto, chakatanga pano churieto, cho 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 churieto. Chakatanga pano churieto, Zangaiwa chakatanga pano, Zangaiwa chakatanga pano, Zangaiwa. They were jumping around and shaking the trees. The elephant was doing spins on his trunk. They were having a ball. When the hyena said, wait a minute, she did it again. And sure enough, that little girl was running down the road, so they started chasing after her. But she got to her village just in time. And the animals didn't dare go into the village because so many hunters lived there. So the little girl got away. And that's the end of the story. Oh.
So, I'm Jen Carr, the bookseller, and these are my friends. What great stories!
Oh,
You
thank
welcomed
you.
us into your world. And you took us through trees and pigs and taught us perseverance, and singing can get you just about out of anything. Right?
Yeah.
But we have a tradition at City of Asylum to give a T-shirt because we want to welcome you and
Well,
hope you come
thank
back.
you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.